good to be with you for our annual, just a time to reflect a little bit and get the year started on what I hope will be a good note and a chance for some conversation. Let's ask the Lord's blessing upon our time together. Would you please join me as we pray? Dear Father in heaven, we come before you today grateful for all of your blessings. Too many to count. We'd be foolish to even begin to try and count them all. They are so significant in our lives, and you are so generous in your goodness. We thank you for the gift of this place where we have been called to serve you. And as we prepare to begin a new academic year, we ask your blessing upon all that we do. We're aware, Lord, especially this group of people, that our years kind of flow from one to the next seamlessly. There's always something going on, and so as we think about the summer that we've just spent, we thank you for the work that's been done in our work together, and we ask your continued blessing upon each one of these people, these children of yours that you have gifted in extraordinary and wonderful ways in which they generously apply also to the mission of this place. Bless this time together, that it might be helpful for us to again refocus on who we are and what we're about, and give us the sense of your presence in all that we do for the work of your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. So again, thank you for coming today. This is really a terrific opportunity to greet and interact with you, mostly staff. There are a few faculty sprinkled in. And the faculty retreat for the faculties of both campuses begins really tonight and continues tomorrow. And tonight we have a dinner, and I have a speech for those folks. I have it here, in fact. You don't want the speech version right now. This is meant to be a little more conversational, and that there's a sort of this expectation, a little more rhetorical flourish that's kind of come with, I don't know how this happened, but every year I have to write a speech. So my challenge is to make sure that the same points get across to both groups in a little different delivery style. And so this is more conversational. It's meant to include, again, all of our colleagues from across Concordia, wherever you might be serving. I'm looking at you, but I look at you that way, so I'll have a chance to kind of make some of the same points. But if you're interested in the speech part, I can make that available to you tomorrow. There are going to be, for the faculty, six trivia questions related to the music from the 60s and 70s and how those particular songs relate to the Lutheran Reformation 500 years ago. So this took a lot of work, really. The connections are, shall we say, sort of loose ones. But before that, I've had a good summer. I've had a chance for some time of refreshment and enjoyment of the summer months. You know, it's just so beautiful here in Wisconsin. I know in Michigan too. Those are really wonderful places to be for summertime. And as a result of that, made an intentional decision this year to spend a week at home for vacation, and I'm just coming off of that now. And so trying to kind of regather myself after what was really a fun week. Most of our family was together for the entire time, or at least part of the time, and some were there for the entire time. But we kind of lived like tourists last week in Wisconsin, things that we don't normally do. We went to the zoo, we went to the art museum, Ken Gash kind enough to take us out to the shooting range at the Highlands and shooting play. I don't do this normally, and my family members even less so. So he had to give us little hunter safety tips. That we were grateful for that. And we went on a boat ride on the Milwaukee River and stuff like that. Everything really went smoothly. The only thing I regret, truly, is that I participated in that backyard football game on Saturday afternoon. I mean, it was fun at the time, but I'm really sore right now. And it wasn't tackle or anything. It was just like, it's a different kind of running motion than you have when you're just running. That's kind of just like right foot, left foot, right foot, left. You know, this had stops and starts and stuff like that. Anyway, but we had a delightful time. And I hope that you had a chance to enjoy some of that too. There was one other little vacation time that Tammy and I spent. It was a mixture of business and kind of personal time. We were in Colorado visiting a few donors, but it was also the occasion of my 40th high school, the anniversary of our 40th anniversary of our graduation from high school in 1977. Jefferson High School, class of 1977, right? And you know, that I have a lot of old classmates. I realized that how they got so old. But and it was delightful. I mean, it was wonderful to see everyone. And of course, we're a little more connected than we were even for our 30th, thanks to like Facebook. And I have Facebook friends from high school who weren't even my friends in high school. You know? But we're a lot closer now than we were, and it's kind of fun to reminisce. But it occurred to me that, you know, so that means that 40 years ago, this was a group of kids at that time who were just getting ready to go to college. You know, a lot of them, not all of them, most of them. Graduate from high school and off to different places. And there are probably a few that I haven't seen, you know, since that time. 40 years, time goes by quickly. But it was such a poignant time in my life that I can remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, and a lot of you know that. I tell that story. I'm not going to tell the whole story, don't worry. But the part that's most meaningful for us is just the poignancy of that moment. You know. When you're in high school, if you've had a good high school experience, which I did, or even just an average one, you know friends, and you're accustomed to that life. And a lot of these kids you've maybe gone through school with for 12 years, and then you're off to something just entirely different. And if you can't remember that experience your own, maybe you're recalling it as a parent because your children have gone through it not so long ago. There's something truly poignant about that rite of passage that geez, about not quite, but nearly 1,000 new students will be experiencing at Concordia for our traditional undergraduates. It's not the same, of course, for adult students. I mean, there is something about starting out for those students as well. I mean, it's a change of life, change of direction, hoping for something new, something different, to grow or to advance or whatever the case might be. But whenever you begin something new like that, there's a moment where you're thinking, this is representing for me an opportunity for something. Maybe some have a really clear idea of what it all means. My sense is that 40 years hence, most would look back and say, it wasn't exactly what I expected. Hopefully they'll say it was much better, and hopefully as well they'll say, and I'm really glad that I went to Concordia, because that's where all this began to happen for me in a significant way. So we're at the threshold of that moment, and every year it touches me deeply. And as those parents roll in here, especially the first ones, with their sons and daughters, and they're moving into the halls and sweating after that last Target run, and just trying to get everything in place, and some meeting their roommate for the first time. Think about that. That's a really interesting dynamic. Maybe they've had some communication over the summer or what have you, but it's just a really awesome thing. And maybe I take it for granted now after all these years, but when it starts to finally happen, it's a very moving thing for me. And I hope that you'll appreciate it too, as you have a chance to meet people as they come to campus for the first time, to serve them and to assist them, and to be a part of something that they'll probably always remember. And we get to be a part of that. That's pretty cool. So as I mentioned, this is the 500th anniversary of I didn't mention it, but I'm mentioning it now, the 500th anniversary of the Lutheran Reformation. That's, in Lutheran circles at least, and at Lutheran colleges like ours, is being commemorated and celebrated. The 500th anniversary technically of Martin Luther's 95 Theses, that sort of sprung the whole thing into action. And we'll be marking that event on both our campuses later this fall. Urge you to participate, to get involved, to learn, to grow, to experience. Urge your colleagues, students, others to participate as well. A 500th anniversary, a 40th anniversary doesn't happen that often, but the 500th anniversary of anything significant is even rarer, and so we get to be a part of that. It's kind of in that spirit. So Luther wrote the 95 Theses, right, for that triggered the whole event. So it's kind of in that spirit that I present to you today my 5 theses for our Lutheran University. And interesting, when Luther wrote the 95 Theses, it was meant for debate at the University of Wittenberg, among academics. It was meant for university conversation. And so it's kind of in that spirit that I present you 5, and we'll present to the faculty also 5 theses this evening. You don't have to worry about the trivia questions, but you can look those up later if you're interested, and we'll talk about them. But I'm going to share with you the same 5 points that I want to share with the faculty this evening. And then you get the bonus, not of trivia questions, but of just a few updates of other things that are going on. And then question and answer time that faculty won't have this evening. Captive audience, we eat, I talk, they go home, that's it. I'd like to, the first one though is not one that's original with me. It's something that I've shared with a few of our staff over the course of the summer that I'm borrowing from the book that I read earlier this spring by Rod Dreher. It's a bestseller called The Benedict Option. Some of you perhaps have read it. I don't agree with everything in it, but there's a lot in it that certainly recommends itself to consideration of the role and place of the Christian church and Christian institution like ours in our setting, in our cultural setting, in our social setting as well. But the part that's absolutely germane, I think, to our interaction, to our discussion today, has to do with what Dreher, who borrows really from some sociological research by Christian Smith and Melinda Lundquist, have kind of seized upon as they describe the young people, the youth. And I would say beyond that, really, this is not limited to one generation. I think it really extends into to the broader cultural palette of generation. A description really of the kind of pseudo-religion that most of our culture, particularly our young people, have embraced. And it even has a technical name, moralistic therapeutic deism. So the thesis is that the majority of those in the generation of students we now meet adhere to this mushy pseudo-religion. The people who are coming to our campus, wherever it's represented. And so you might be wondering, well, what is it? What is included? This is where Dreher defines a bit more for us. So he comes up, by the way, all the points are not sort of technical like this one, but this one kind of sets the stage for the others. But anyway, the adherence, and whether they would see themselves that way or not, is not that significant. But this is more just a reflection of how people view God in our culture, to the extent that they believe in God, and most do. But most who do view God this way, that there is a God who exists, who created and who orders the world in some way, who watches over human life on earth. This God wants people to be good, to be fair to each other as taught in the Bible and in most world religions. This pseudo-religion also brings this belief that the central goal of life is to be happy and to feel good about yourself. That's what life's about. Further, according to Dreher, they believe in a God who doesn't really need to be particularly involved in one's life, except when needed to help resolve a problem. That's when it's good to bring God into the conversation. And then finally, these are folks who believe that good people go to heaven when they die. I was, I'm taken by this because I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, others have done the research to reinforce the point. But I would suggest to you that's kind of what most of the students who are coming to campus, who might even call themselves Christians, that's sort of how they think about God. The impact for us is that well, it's far-reaching. But among the things that it suggests to me is that most of the students, many, if not most of the students that we're encountering that are coming into our classrooms right now, have a very limited biblical literacy, very limited understanding of the Bible and its teachings. And let me just share with you a couple of personal examples. I will share these also with the faculty this evening, a couple of illustrations to reinforce this point. First one is actually occurred a couple of years ago when I made a trip to Colorado to visit family. I was in Boulder, where my brother lives, and we were visiting his daughter, my niece, and their children. And it just happened that this visit occurred a few days after there had been some fairly serious flooding in the Denver-Boulder area, which is a bit unusual, but it made a significant impact, and it was on everybody's mind. Everybody was thinking about it. I was speaking with my great niece, who's everybody's great niece is precocious, right? I mean, just bright, brilliant, beautiful. She really is, though. She wasn't then too. She was maybe 10 or 12 years old. And I made some reference to about the flooding, to Noah. And she said, "Who's that? Who's that?" And now, admittedly, in this particular family's case, it's an unchurched family. Right? It's an unchurched family. But I grew up in an unchurched family. And I knew who Noah was. I knew who Noah was. Because it was more understood and just in the broader cultural conversation. Whether you were somebody who went to church very much or not, you kind of knew who Noah was. Right? But this kid knows a lot. She's smart as whip. She didn't know who Noah was. And we are going to, I think, encounter more and more really bright young people who will have had almost no exposure to stuff like that when they arrive on our campus. This also, by the way, might include Christian kids. I mean, practicing, aside from another just brief example. This summer, actually this May, I baptized actually my grandson, Jonah, which was a great joy and delight. He's a wonderful little guy. I wouldn't say necessarily precocious at this point. He is very smiley, though. He's a very sweet guy. But so my daughter had a baptism party for him afterward. We had receptions, family was there, friends were there. And a friend of Hannah's said, we were just talking about things, she said, "Jonah, is that name from the Bible? I mean, I really need to get to know my Bible better," she said. Now this wonderful, lovely young woman is Lutheran. She went through Lutheran schools, Lutheran high school, not Concordia, but all the way through. And yet she didn't know, well, she kind of knew, but wasn't sure about Jonah. So my first thesis, right? This is our audience. This is increasingly going to become our audience as we go forward and as we interact with our students. So the second thesis, which, as I see for the speech night, has a really long introduction. It's a much more complicated trivia question. So the second one, though, connects to that, and that is this: that God is at work among us and through us to touch the hearts of these ones who don't believe. That God is working through us miraculously to reach in all kinds of ways that we don't even fully appreciate much of the time. So whatever the disadvantage that we encounter because of biblical illiteracy, no matter what the antagonism there is toward the faith that is a part of the cultural inculcation into their experience, that does not somehow leave them beyond the reach of Jesus, or certainly his pale of grace. And he's reaching out to them through us. And also, he's reaching out to us. One of the things that I intend to speak about this evening is the results of the survey of employment engagement. I know Gretchen's going to be speaking to the faculty about this as well. And perhaps you've heard a little bit about this Gallup poll, maybe you will if you haven't, but I'd like to address it just kind of briefly with you this afternoon too. And I'm going to summarize it so succinctly that it'll probably make Gretchen and Tammy cringe, like, oh, there's so much more to it. Well, that's your thing, you can do that later. My thing is this, that overall the results are pretty good. I mean, they suggested that when it comes to engagement, our faculty and staff, all of us who are here, half of us, say, see, this is where they're cringing. Half of us are really into it. We really get it. We're on board. We're behind it. You know, giving it our all. And then there's also a very large number who they work here, and it's a good job, and they like it okay, and they like the people here. They're not working against it necessarily, but it's not like, you know, it's just, I can have this job or I can have a different job. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I think that's probably characteristic of many organizations. And then there's about 10% who really are sort of working against the cause. And so you can count off one. And I suppose that from an HR perspective, that maybe we would say that we ought to be looking for some kind of graceful way to help the unhappy folks exit. But I propose that we ought to be looking for a grace-filled strategy that helps those of you who, maybe you're not in the room, but that those who are unhappy to really once again embrace and celebrate being a part of something that truly is compelling. And I might not be able to convince you. I mean, you might be beyond my reach. Maybe I've done something, I would say unwittingly, because I have not intentionally meant to offend any of you. But you might be beyond my reach somehow. But you're not beyond Jesus' reach. And he's the one who's at work here, to work in and among us, to carry out a mission that's bigger than any one of us. And I believe in miracles. I think for our students, though, that the best way for us to reach them, the most meaningful way for us to reach them, is captured in my next 2 points, my next 2 theses. And the first one of these is that one of our best avenues to reach the inactive and disengaged is actively to engage them in a faith that is both a filter and a force for good. In other words, that we are living out our faith in a way that represents that this is an authentic reflection of who we are. That our faith, in other words, our faith will not matter to them if our faith doesn't matter to us. And I know that there are elements to this in Lutheran theology that cause the theologians to say, all right, let's be careful we don't stray too far into the kind of whole social gospel thing where we're just trying to make the world a better place, when the real emphasis of Jesus' work among us was to forgive our sins and to prepare us for everlasting life. I understand that. I don't disagree with that. But if you read Luther, and I think you ought to maybe sometime, this Reformation year, but if you do, you'll discover that there's really no part of life that he somehow does not address. I mean, this guy he writes about everything. He writes about everything. Politics and economics and family life, and I mean, you name it. And his theological perspective, his faith perspective informs all of that and comments on all of it. And I think if we make the mistake of allowing our faith life to just be kind of a sliver of our life's pie, I think our students are going to pick up on that. And in fact, they'll see some of the negative stuff that comes along with that from time to time. And say, why should I want to be a part of something like that? So I guess what I'm encouraging us to do, and I'll encourage the faculty in a really, I think, a more dramatic way this evening, but I'll just save a little of that, and you can read this for yourself later, is that that we need to, I would like us to become more activist in a way. I think our culture is yearning for that, whether it realizes it or not, that we should be more aggressive about this, clearly in things like service. And we do wonderful service. It's our mission, right? We talk about it, and we're doing a much better job of that than we've ever done. But beyond that, love and charity and justice and mercy, and just making it real in a way that I'm not saying we don't do it, but I'd like us to just be more intentional about it, thinking about it, because our students are watching us. And they are perhaps silently to themselves asking the question, what difference does this really make to these folks anyway? So in our lives together, that's one of the ways. Another way, which is the fourth thesis, is that along with loving service, that our regular participation and attendance at chapel will have a miraculous effect upon each of us personally and upon our campus community as a whole. So they're not only looking for the authentic reflection of our Christian faith in our acts of service, but also in our acts of worship. And the first blessing from this is the blessing that we get by being in the place where the Spirit works through the Word to touch our hearts. But the added benefit is that students, who again are looking to us as role models and examples, will also be present to experience that blessing on a regular basis. This is one that it seems odd to me in a way that I even need to bring it up. I mean, in some ways you could say, we do okay, and in fact I would suggest that we do all right, pretty good on the whole. There are, in fact, some days when it's not easy to get a seat in the back. But considering the size of our entire campus populations, right, they're perhaps could be standing room only every day. And I don't want to be legalistic about it. I'm not trying to be legalistic about it. I just simply want to say that there is no good reason consistently not to be in chapel. And I'd be happy to debate anybody who might think otherwise. So come for your own blessing and benefit, come for the blessing and benefit of our students who look to you as role models, but come also for the blessing and benefit of a community that grows when the community gathers and has an impact on the wider community. And then the final thesis, and you're probably all wondering, how in the heck are these going to connect to Psalms from the 60s and 70s? I'll let your imagination run. But the final one is a very simple one, and that is, this is our moment. This is our moment. I was saying that I don't think it's a coincidence that the Lord has allowed us to assemble such an extraordinary group of able, talented faculty and staff to speak into this moment for such a time as this. That was the famous word of Mordecai to Queen Esther. For such a time as this. It's an incredibly challenging time. For so many reasons, so many levels. But it's our time. It's the time that the Lord has placed us here in this world and in this place to make a difference. And I'm confident that as we work at it together, that He'll bless that in significant ways. So let me transition a bit here and go off script now and just talk a little bit about some of the things that we can expect as the new year begins, things that are happening on both of our campuses very briefly. And now I'll give you a chance to ask questions about anything I've said or anything else that interests you that you'd like to know more about. Every year I make the point that that we are not a tuition-driven university. Okay, we're a mission-driven university, right? And we keep that front and center always for ourselves. We are, however, we are a tuition-dependent university. And as much as we rely on our advancement staff to supplement and to support that, they do a fantastic job. We've always looked to them to help move us forward. That's why we call them advancement, take us kind of to the next level, to the next step, and not to just kind of keep things even. So we rely on tuition to make it all kind of come together. And that is a function of enrollment for new students who are coming to campus and the ones who return as a part of the retention program. Let me speak first of all to new students who are coming. Last year on the Mequon campus, in really every area, we experienced somewhat of a downturn. It was not a pattern that we've encountered previously. And there was something extraordinary about it, almost like a conspiracy. But it was everywhere, it was everything. It was traditional undergraduate, it was professional programs, it was international, everything. It was just like, whoa, what's happening? I'm happy to say, that trajectory has reversed this year. And I think we're getting back on a track that we feel good about. But what is clear is that sledding is tougher than it used to be. Maybe it's global warming, I don't know. but sledding is tougher than it used to be. And there are lots of reasons for that. Demographics, deliveries, all kinds of things. Competition, fears. And so we have to be, I think, continue to be, as we've always been, nimble and entrepreneurial and thoughtful and creative. And I think we're working at that. One of the challenges I think you have is become a bit more of a settled sort of institution. And we've settled a bit because we've added programs, we've got to a point where our infrastructure is able to accommodate this much. You can become kind of, well, just settled. And even though you like to think of yourself as nimble and entrepreneurial, before you know it, you're out of date and behind the curve. So I'm not saying we are at all, I'm just saying we need to be attentive and aware that the challenges are as significant as they've ever been. Concordia Ann Arbor, by contrast, last year had a record enrollment, both for new students and for returning students. We won't reach that same level of new student enrollment this year. We won't beat last year's record, although we may beat the overall enrollment record. We'll have to see when the numbers are finally counted. But that's for new students coming in. And those are the hardest ones to get, the most expensive ones to get. The ones who are already here, those are the ones you don't want to lose out the back door. And so maybe the most significant thing that we all can do, because we don't all have the really challenging job of our admissions personnel, but we all have the job of being involved in retention of students. And there are going to be some times when it just doesn't work, right? Maybe a student shouldn't have gone to college in the first place, or perhaps we don't have a major that the student really feels called to pursue. I mean, there are going to be some of those cases, but it never ought to be because we have somehow failed that student because of our lack of care or service or concern. And I know that'll happen occasionally, but I just want to remind all of us that each one of us is a part of the effort to retain students on our campus. And we do it not just because of the bottom line, but because we believe in our mission. We believe that this place can have an impact on them in their lives. Comment about some of the projects that we're working on and hoping to move forward on in the near future. Let's start with the MEC1 campus here. Kenny told me this morning that we got approval for the new athletic facilities, a kind of a batting cage addition, kind of a bigger building for the athletics program. We had some nice funds for. We're grateful for that. We're in the process still of raising money for the new academic building, and our plans continue to unfold as we think about that. We're hopeful that that we can, as a part of the campaign, reach that goal in the near future. But you know, there's a couple of big gifts that we still are praying that the Lord will help us to find in order to make that possible. We're giving consideration to how exactly we want to configure the facility to meet the program needs, both of business and of healthcare. There are real needs, and the Lord knows our needs better than we do, and we trust Him as the one who provides resources to help us to achieve that. I'm very confident that we'll have a workable plan in the near future. In fact, what's sort of, I'm kind of hedging a bit, is that on one level, the campaign as we laid it out, we've already exceeded our original goal, or pretty close to it. We're pretty close to the original goal. It's just that the plan has been kind of a bit of a moving target because we have needs of various sorts, and so we're raising the bar for ourselves in order to achieve that. And we will. Roy's good at jumping over bars, right? Maybe just jumping into bars, I don't know. So we're hopeful. That same team has a responsibility for raising funds for the Ann Arbor projects, and there are two of them that I'd like to note, say something about. One is a new academic facility that we've developed a plan for that's going to bring us a focus on Christian apologetics and Christian evangelism. To be a real signature program on the Ann Arbor campus. And we've had some significant initial funding, and we think that there's going to be more. It would be an academic facility that could include a substantial auditorium facility, but it will provide us some much needed academic space on that campus. There's still a ways to go on that, but we have some good initial interest. And then we received a gift, and then another unrestricted gift that will allow us to complete some of the athletic field projects on the Ann Arbor campus, hopefully in the very near future, new track and soccer facility. So that's good. That's all part of the enrollment strategy of recruiting, retaining students, and we're excited for that. So those are a couple of the projects and the enrollment piece. I want to share just one more thing. Bill Carrier sent this to me recently. That I think underscores pretty much what I'm talking about. It's just anecdotal, but it's a letter that our music faculty received, Alexa received, regarding a program that's on campus. What was it? The Comprehensive Musicianship Through Performance Workshop. And she received this letter. Let me just read it to you. On behalf of all of us on the CMP project and all those participants who loved being there, a big thank you. We're so grateful for all your help, not only during the workshop last week, but during the whole last 12 months. All the emails, connections with the residents, staff, thinking through the space with us. You're a fantastic host right up till the end. Thanks for the last minute copies. Just so you might have guessed, everyone loved being at CW. There's just something about the lake. We enjoyed the dorms, all the bright sunny workspaces, the food. You got used to eating dinner at the nursing home time. Mostly, I think we enjoyed being in a place where every single person we dealt with was like you, cheerful, friendly, always looking to help and gracious. And that was literally everyone, bold caps. One time I was in a big hurry, got turned around, suddenly couldn't find the band room on my own. One of the nighttime cleaning kids actually asked her supervisor if she could just take me rather than trying to explain. We had a great chat on the long walk, and she made a huge impression of hospitality. We had a fantastic week. Please pass along our thanks to everyone, and to you a huge debt of gratitude. So that's all of you. And so I'm preaching to the choir when I speaking to you, and I know that's true. But I'd just like to reinforce, keep up the really good work. So we have about 15 minutes if there are questions, and if someone sees somebody raise a hand on the screen here, alert me, and I'll turn around and ask someone about that. And others who are here that from the administrative team, if there's a particular point you want me to talk about with the group, this would be a good time to remind me of that. I'm like that other president, I just sort of wing and do it on my own without doing well. They're just doing terrific. It's huge. It's huge. Most of the VPs are on the edge of their seats. So what do you want to talk about? Or what would you like me to say more about? I know it's easy in a quiet, intimate group like this. Yes?
You mentioned the enrollment was coming
Right. So the question from Craig was about enrollment, something more specific. We generally track with kind of laser-like focus the traditional undergraduate number, right? And we know that's only a part of the larger whole. And so there are some areas, though, that we probably just don't know as much about. How are we going to do with some of our non-traditional programs at our centers and the like? So there's still some, we still have to bring those into line and you get a better idea. My impression is, though, that with our professional programs, those that have cohort limitations, many of those are reaching those cohort goals. I think we're a little behind in pharmacy still, because we had set a high bar for ourselves of about 100. We're not going to reach 100. What are we going to reach?
76.
76. So that's even lower than we thought it might be. So that's a direct, that's a function to some extent, at least, of the increased competition that we now face in that area. But that would be a concern. Traditional undergraduate, we had a fairly round number of goals for ourselves, 700 here, right, Michelle, and 300 on the Ann Arbor campus. I think we're not going to quite reach those goals. It seems to me that in Ann Arbor we're at 290, something like that. Here we're probably what would you say, Michelle?
Close to 670. Right?
670. So we set goals for ourselves, and we did. But both here at least that represents a fairly big turn from a year ago. So I don't, we're not yet where we want to be, but I'm hopeful that at least we're turning around the direction we want to go. Yes, other question. How about international, David?
Well, yeah, I was going to mention that. I had another question first.
Okay.
And then I'll ask a little about international. We can talk about that. But I'm just curious, from your perspective, how you're seeing the interaction going between our two campuses. I know it's a big, kind of big deal for all of us trying to figure out how to do better in communication, etc.
The question for those who couldn't hear was, how do I feel we're doing in the relationship between the two campuses? And how does that come together after now, 4 years of being in the same family? I'll be honest with you, I'd say that in some ways it's gone really well, and in other ways, I'm not as happy with it as I'd like to be. And the second part is what I should address. Well, what's the problem? Yeah, I've used this illustration in the past, and so I'll use it again. It's sort of humorous, but it's also true. So the idea, like if you think of a family, and you come home one night, and parents say to the kids, we decided we're gonna adopt a child. Oh, yeah, this is exciting, and everybody's excited, and they talk all about what it's gonna be like, and it's a wonderful thing, and then the adopted child comes home, and everybody's excited, and this is how it was for us 4 years ago. We were all excited about doing something we thought was spectacular. And then, about a week into it, the kid says, "What do you mean I have to share my toys?" And the new child also trying to figure out, how does this all fit together? I mean, you pay more attention to the, whatever. So the reality is we live in a world of finite resources. We live in a world of finite resources. And I suppose it would be safe to say that if we hadn't embarked upon the merger 4 years ago, we might have that other academic building finished out here by now, right? But instead we had to expend some resources in order to start our nursing program in Ann Arbor, in the new facility. And if we look at those kinds of things in a turfy way, in a parochial way, we can become kind of, I won't say selfish, that's too harsh. But we're all sort of used to thinking about what we're doing through the lens of our own experience. And so we know what each of us needs in our own particular area and how we'd like to have some of those resources so that we could expand what we're trying to do in that area. My job is to look at it through a broader lens. And so this is where I'm happy. Where I'm really happy is that over the long haul, the university has the opportunity to grow, and I mean this in every way, to grow exponentially because of the relationship, in a way that would be much more limited if we were simply focusing on one campus and one set of programs. So it's not easy, and yet the Lord continues to bless us, I think, in ways that are certainly beyond our deserving, that's for sure. On the whole, this last year, our financial year was mediocre. In fact, it wasn't up to our standard by any stretch. And yet, even with all of that, because the Lord finds different ways to bless in the midst of struggle, we will have had a profitable year, which is good for a nonprofit, I think. But in our operations, we lag a little behind, and we may be the only school in the only institution of higher learning in the state or in the region that's accustomed to working on operating margins. Okay? That's a great thing, but we're accustomed to that, and that's our standard. And this year we were under that. But thanks to good stock market year and Roy's good work, I mean, we're slightly ahead, but that's not satisfactory for us. Now, you can look at that and say, well, if we hadn't had Ann Arbor, we would have been ahead. And then I can look over Pastor Ryan and say, Ryan, how many students have been baptized on the Ann Arbor campus in the last 4 years?
Yeah, about 10 or more.
And the angels in heaven rejoice. So, let's balance all of those things. And let's try to think as best we can in the bigger, broader picture perspective. So how are we doing on international students?
Yeah, I think we're doing we're doing pretty well. I'd say right now we're probably about equal with last year. I want to just make a comment on this on your presentation, because I think you hit a note that really resonates with what we're seeing internationally, and that is this now is the moment. I mean, as we look at the issues going on around the world, can you imagine what it would be like with Concordia students in leadership positions in these countries that are dealing with crisis and dealing with opportunity and dealing with human pain? So we have this huge opportunity. Can you talk a little to us about how we as a Concordia community can open up more to the students who will be walking through our doors? We'll have a record number for us anyway at Ann Arbor, this year, I think it'll be about 25 international students coming in. There'll be another 100 coming in the doors here. And those students, when they walk in, are every sense that they have is on edge. They're looking at everything that they can see. Can you coach us a little on how we can tap that?
Sure. I'm going to be careful in the future, though, about saying, this is our moment. Powerful words. I I think about international students and the impact that Concordia is able to have on individual students from around the world. That by itself is moving. But when I think about the ripple effect of those students having an impact on others in their home country, because we're preparing leaders, we're preparing people who are going to make a huge difference. I won't go into any great detail about this, but in one of our sister schools that is experiencing some difficulty, there's some discussion that it might be acquired. This is Concordia, Selma, Alabama. There's some discussion that this might be acquired by a Chinese business leader who's a Concordia graduate. So I think that's an amazing thing. A few years ago, a few of us who were with us, Dave, Al, we had a chance to travel to Ukraine, and we met the economic, I don't remember his title, but he was the head of the kind of economic ministry for economic trade. He's a Concordia graduate. And he's not doing it anymore, by the way. A lot of corruption in that government, but anyway, it wasn't him. So it's like, wow, these students show up here and they are on edge, and just put yourself in that situation for a moment. I mean, these are brave people, in my opinion. I've traveled lots of places, I've seen a lot of things, but if you were to all of a sudden say to me, all right, I'm going to have you go wherever, Kenosha. Probably Kenosha, I can probably handle it. But you're going to uproot me, and you're going to take me, and this is their own choice, but they're going to be uprooted from their home, their family, their food, their weather, their customs, all of that stuff that we just experience every day. And here they are. That's a huge thing. And the thing I always encourage them about is that they've taken the big step, and here they are. So don't just hang around with the folks who are from your neighborhood back home, right? I mean, you've already taken this step to stretch yourself. But it'll be a lot easier for them to stretch themselves and to get acquainted with us if we meet them way past the middle, to welcome them, to make them feel like you belong. Where did I read this recently? I've been using it also tonight. We don't just welcome them, right? They belong. This is their Concordia too. They're Concordians. This is their university. And we can make them feel like they belong. Well, this has been an interesting hour. And again, pray for Trevor. I hope he's well. Was he doing okay, Mario?
He's doing good. He's doing good.
Okay. I felt a little like Paul when he preached all night and Eutychus fell out the window, So, I don't mean to make light of it, but since Mario said he's doing okay. So, if you'd like to participate in the trivia portion of the speech tomorrow, you can. I'll make sure that all this is again available to you after the talk tonight. But let's remember those 5 pieces. I can just share them with you again, just in summary, right? The folks who are coming to our campus, they may not have a real good sense about Christian faith and biblical teaching. In fact, you can pretty much assume they don't. But God is working through us to reach them. And a couple of ways in which that will happen is if we, in an authentic way, demonstrate that our faith is the filter through which we see everything, including our worship, which brings our community together. And then, for such a time as this, we are called for this moment. Thanks for being a part of that with me and with each other. Have a good rest of the afternoon.